This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome. It's the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope you're well and looking forward to the forthcoming Qatar tournament that is getting ever closer. And I hope I've been building that excitement with these regular look backs over the World Cups that England have participated in over the years. Now, you may remember we looked at the very early tournaments and how it all got off the ground. Then I had the pleasure in speaking with Blackburn Rovers legend and former Three Lion himself, Brian Douglas. He told me all about 1958 and 1962. Peter Woodman told us about England's finest hour, 1966. And then the lovely Pat Napier. She went to Mexico in 1970 and together we relived her memories. And sadly, England went through a barren period, not making the finals for two successive tournaments, 1974 and 1978. Then along came Ron Greenwood, who set things straight, and that's where we find ourselves now. Spain, 1982. Don't forget, if you've missed any of those previous episodes, then they are still all available on your podcast provider of choice. So sit back, grab yourself a cerveza, some paella too, and let's find out how it all unfolded. Spain was actually chosen as the host country some 16 years earlier, when at the FIFA Congress in London, 1966, shortly before the competition that year, which was, of course, the year when England would lift the Jules Rimet trophy. In fact, by the time 1982 came around, there was a new trophy to be fought over. The FIFA World Cup trophy. The one we now know, that gold gleaming one with the world at the top. This was because back in 1970, Brazil would win the World Cup for the third time. And the prize for that? They could keep the Jules Rimet. Anyway, back to 1966. That FIFA Congress also selected the hosting rights for 1974 and 1978. West Germany and Spain, well, they came to an agreement that Spain would back West Germany for 74 and the Germans would back the Spanish for 82. That's how it worked out. The tournament would be played across 17 different venues in 14 host cities, and for the first time featured 24 teams, having been expanded from 16, which had been its format since 1954. And by doing this would now allow 2 teams from Africa, 2 from Asia and Oceania, 2 from CONCACAF, 4 from South America, and 14 from UEFA. The Netherlands, well, they lost both the 74 and 78 finals. They would have a disastrous qualifying campaign, and they wouldn't make it to Spain. In fact, they finished 4th in their qualifying group. Mexico and Sweden alike, they also didn't make it. England, well, they did get to the finals, but they made hard work of it. They were drawn alongside Hungary, Romania, Switzerland and Norway in UEFA's Group 4. Things got off to a good start with a 4-0 home win over Norway. A shock loss to Romania followed in Bucharest. Switzerland at home saw a 2-1 win, but that was only followed by a goalless draw with Romania at Wembley. And just as they seemed to have gotten hold of things, They then lost to Switzerland in Basel. They beat Hungary away before the ultimate humiliation, losing away to Norway in Oslo. In the end, it was other results going England's way, notably Switzerland beating Romania, which meant that when it came down to the last match, at home to Hungary, Paul Mariner scored the only goal that ensured England finished second in the group, behind the Hungarians. Hungary ended up on 10 points, England 9, ahead of Romania on 8. And in the European qualifying, both top spot and runners-up all qualified, except for Group 7, where only the winners went through. But that was a group of only 3 sides, and Poland, they saw off East Germany and Malta there. Once there, though, there was still some concern about England and Scotland and Northern Ireland attending, because of the Falklands War. But we'll cover that in a bit more detail soon. Preparation for the tournament, unlike qualifying, was fairly straightforward. Victories over the Dutch, Scotland and Finland. And Ron Greenwood, he would choose the following 22 players. 3 goalkeepers: Ray Clements of Tottenham Hotspur, Joe Corrigan, Manchester City, Peter Shilton of Nottingham Forest. Defenders: Viv Anderson, Nottingham Forest, Terry Butcher, Ipswich Town, Steve Foster of Brighton, Mick Mills, Ipswich Town, Phil Neal of Liverpool, Kenny Sansom of Arsenal, and Phil Thompson, also of Liverpool. Midfielders: Trevor Brooking of West Ham United, Steve Coppell, Manchester United. There's Glenn Hoddle of Tottenham Hotspur, Terry McDermott of Liverpool, Graham Ricks of Arsenal, Brian Robson and Ray Wilkins, both of Manchester United. And he chose 5 forwards. Kevin Keegan from Southampton, he was squad captain. Trevor Francis of Manchester City, Paul Mariner, who had got the team there thanks to that goal against Hungary, he was from Ipswich, Peter Withe of Aston Villa, and Tony Woodcock, who at the time was playing in the Bundesliga in Germany for Cologne. And whilst Keegan was squad captain, it was actually Mick Mills who wore the armband in Keegan's injured absence. And England, despite only coming second in the qualifying group, they were seeded and found themselves alongside Czechoslovakia, France and Kuwait in Group 4. Now back home in England, both the BBC and ITV would be covering the tournament, and it's now that a lot of memories will come rushing back for many as those opening credits became the soundtrack to the summer. The BBC, they chose an Andrew Lloyd Webber composition as performed by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. It was called The Jealousy Ball from Cats. Whilst ITV went with something a little more traditional. Matador by Jeff Wayne. Yes, he of War of the Worlds fame. The official poster for the tournament is one of my personal favourites. A colourful, abstract affair, painted by Spanish surrealist artist Joan Miró. Born in Barcelona in 1893, famous for his painting and sculptures that can be seen around the Catalan capital. I have to be honest though, I'm not sure what it's supposed to represent, but it is dominated by red and yellow, of course the colour of Spain's national flag. And it has España written above it and Copa del Mundo de Futbol beneath. Now the mascot this year was an oversized orange called Naranjito, wearing the red shirts and blue shorts of Spain. It has a big smile on its face with a green stalk and leaves coming from the top of its head, and it's holding a ball in the crook of its arm. Again, like the poster, it's a little favourite of mine. Now it's time to bring in someone who was there in Spain all those years ago. And many will remember the European Championships episode where we looked at Euro 1980. It was the first in the series some while back. Well, I was joined by Les Gasson then, and I'm pleased to say he's back joining me again. Now, I've already spoken to Les Gasson about Euro 1980 in Italy in a previous series. You may remember that one. I think we spoke riots, guns and prison. We're going to fast forward a couple of years. Spain 1982, as he was there for that one. So, a pleasure to welcome Les back to the Three Lions podcast. Hello, Les.
Hello, Russell. Nice to see you again.
Likewise. I know we spoke about Kazakhstan as well, didn't we? A little while back.
Yeah, become a bit too regular.
Oh, no, I love it. People love these, hearing about the older memories.
Well, you hope it twigs other people's memories and they can relate to it. That's why I listen to them as well, to see if what we've experienced actually ties up with what they did and what they experienced. So, yeah. I don't mind.
Well, thank you again. Well, yeah, let's go back to Spain 1982. From what I can gather, because I personally don't remember it, only other than what I've seen on the telly and what I've read about it. It was the first England World Cup since 1970, and they almost made a hash of getting there, didn't they?
Well, yeah, that's one thing I've put down here. I mean, we nearly didn't qualify. I was, the experience I had in Italy, which was a bit unfortunate to say the least, in 80, went to Switzerland. I had a train ticket to go from Hastings to Switzerland and then on to Budapest, Hungary for the next game.
Yep.
And we had another unfortunate experience where there was quite a bit of trouble. The Battle of Bâle, I think they called it on the News of the World.
Yeah.
And yes, it was quite horrendous, actually, the night before the game. I managed to bump into some lads from Derby County fans, and we stayed away. And we just followed what we looked like was a bit of carnage going on around Basel that evening. But we purposely kept away because of my experiences in Italy, and I said, I'm not having that again. And then we were looking for this nightclub we had tickets for in this main street in Basel somewhere, and this police car pulled up behind us. We just looked around and said, just keep walking, we've done nothing wrong, just there's about four of us. And we just find this place and go in, and then a police car pulled up further down the street in front of us. So they had us front and back, and we thought, oh, right, what do we do now? And then we thought, let's try and just leg it across the road. And of course, we tried to do that. And yet again, out come the guns, taken in again. And I could not believe it, considering we'd stayed away from all the trouble and everything. And long story short, here we go again. No one's going to believe us. We sat to stay in there. There's 22 of us in this big cell all overnight and all throughout the day. And they didn't let us out until half time.
No.
And we ended up losing 2-1, I believe. And I thought, do you know what? I've had enough of this. Instead of going to Hungary, I went home, got the next train home. And I missed the 3-1 game. So the Trevor Brooking goal and all that sort of stuff, And but yeah, I mean, we was almost down and out, wasn't we? We lost to Switzerland. But the next two games, with a lucky goal from Paul Mariner at Wembley, 1-0. That was it. We sealed it. So thank goodness we were going to the World Cup. Hooray, never been to a World Cup before, and it's in sunny Spain. Nice and easy to get to, we thought.
Well, I mean, just going back to one of those games on the road in qualifying, it was Norway, wasn't it? With the infamous commentary.
Oh, fuck it. You'll have to remind me about that. I can't really remember that.
Well, I guess if you were there, did you go to Norway away?
No, I didn't go to Norway. No.
Well,
money was still quite tight in them days. I didn't have a very good job. So it was all really saving the pennies because I was watching Brighton home and away as well. So, which ate up money. So I couldn't go to many games at that point. So,
well, famously, we lost to Norway in Oslo, I guess it was. And come final whistle, the commentator there was saying, was it Lord Attlee, Maggie Thatcher, your boys took one hell of a beating.
Oh, it's that one, is it? I know. Oh, that's why during Euro '96. Oh, what's his name? The radio presenter. He did his big Spanish thing, didn't he? Don Quixote and all that. You know, he did a thing of the Three Lions, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
England, kämpers föderland. Lord Nelson, Lord Beaverbrook, Sir Winston Churchill, Sir Anthony Eden, Clement Attlee, Henry Cooper, Lady Diana. Vi har slått dem alle sammen. Vi har slått dem alle sammen. Maggie Thatcher, can you hear me? Maggie Thatcher, jeg har et budskap til deg midt under valgkampen. Vi har et budskap til deg. Vi har slått England ut av verdensmesterskapet i fotball. Maggie Thatcher, som de sier på ditt språk, i boksebarene rundt Madison Square Garden i New York. Your boys took a hell of a beating. Your boys took a hell of a beating. For Maggie Thatcher, Norge har slått England i fotball. Vi er best i verden. It's Norway 2, England 1. What a fabulous night for football. Vær så god, studio.
So Spain, the World Cup, it was given to Spain to host it. And as soon as we'd qualified, eventually, as you say, with that 1-0 win with a goal from Paul Mariner, were you, right, I'm going?
Yeah, I mean, just mad keen to go, especially after going to Italy, and apart from the bad parts, it was what an experience, and good friends made and all that. So I was straight in touch. We were talking to Wellesley, saying what we're going to do, how we're going to get there. He suggested he'll take his car and we'll go by ferry.
Right.
Word on the streets was there was some problems with ticketless fans being turned away at borders and this, that, and the other. So he said, what we're going to do, we'll take the car to Plymouth. We'll get the Plymouth Santander ferry. Takes you straight there. So it's only along the coast to Bilbao, where we were based anyway. So that's what we decided to do, four of us. So, but, you got to think of what else was going on at the time. A very serious thing going on in the South Atlantic. You got to think of the links of Spain and Argentina, very, very closely tied. So there was an awful lot going on at that time. And I had lots of friends down in the South Atlantic in the Army, Navy, Marines.
Right. So
it was quite an eventful and worrying time, really. Even at that age, you worry about your mates.
Yeah.
So they was all down there, and there we were going off to have some fun in the World Cup. So it was a little bit thing, but no, it's we did that 2 days before we were due to go. I got a phone call and he's saying car brakes have packed up. His calipers are getting sticking or something like that. Oh no. He said, don't worry, he says they're being fixed tomorrow. So all right. Get some fixed. So off we go. We went for a night out in Hastings the night before. It was a fantastic night. It was a very busy night. There was lots of buzzing because the word came out that the Paras and the Marines were on the outskirts of Stanley that evening. And so everyone was really hyped up, and especially in the pubs of Hastings and all that. And it was really good. And we bumped into a couple of West Ham fans who'd been to Dover to go to Spain. And they said they were turned back because they didn't have tickets for the World Cup.
Really?
So they stopped at Dover. I mean, that was... So we said, well, we're going via Plymouth. So lo and behold, they ended up on our same ferry. But yeah, we drove down night before, all okay. Went out in the evening down Union Street, Plymouth. We had a B&B for the night. We went in the pub, bottom of Union Street. I'm not even sure it's a pub anymore. It's not the Eagles. One was on the opposite side, if anybody knows Plymouth. But we went in there, and there was we noticed it was quite busy because obviously being a marine town, naval town, there was lots of atmosphere there, and there was a group of young lads you could see they were in the forces because of the haircuts and the way they were dressed, very neat and tidy. Didn't look very happy, of course. So we just went over and just said hello. Said in the forces, lads, yeah, Navy. I said, oh right, okay, ship, and even now, all these years on, it still makes me well up a bit. HMS Sheffield. They were actually on the Sheffield. And I remember the night it went down. We were the first major loss on that. And we was at Brighton Ipswich that night, Tuesday night game. and we beat Bobby Robson's Ipswich 1-0, high-flying Ipswich. And everyone was absolutely buzzing. It was all going off in the North Stand of Brighton and that. And then Tannoy came over at the end of the game, and they announced what happened. And you could hear a pin drop in that stadium. And there must have been 26,000 there.
Yeah.
You could hardly hear a thing. It was just deathly silence leaving the stadium. A bit of a sign of respect, I think, really, but the shock, I think, that this is now really a war. People are actually dying on our side, and it's not nice. And when you've got lots of mates, are down there, it's quite apparent. So, yeah, these lads in the pub in Plymouth, HMS Sheffield, just didn't know what to say to them. Just bought them a beer, put it on the table and said no words. I don't think there's any words you could say to these lads, really, from what they've just experienced. So that's why I think, when anybody talks about Spain World Cup, I think you can never separate the two because of what was going on at the time and the atmosphere of everything. And that spilled out onto the ferry the next day when we went down. We drove down to the ferry, and lo and behold, what happens? The brakes pack up.
Dear.
Going into the ferry port, they seized up again. These calipers seize on, so it doesn't go anywhere. So you have to wait until they cool down and they release. And so anyway, we parked the car up at the ferry port and got out, and this BBC crew came over, BBC News, interviewed Chris Wellesley and said, he said, what's happened to the car? And they said, are you going home? He said, no, we're going to go as foot passengers, leave the car behind. And that's what we did. So we had to leave the car and go from there. But this is time where you didn't really have tickets in advance and all that sort of stuff. You just went, turned up and just did what you had to do. No hotels, no internet. There's nothing like that at all. So, it's the boat was packed. Jocks, Irish on there. Loads of English, of course. The bar was buzzing all evening. They had Royal Marines as security on the boat. And it was getting a bit lively, shall we say. People on people's shoulders and banging low ceilings and all that sort of stuff and singing. And the Marines said, if this carries on, we're going to have to shut the bar. So we sort of went round, had a word with a couple of groups of lads that we knew. Said, look, we're just going to have to take it down just a little bit. And there was a Bolton flag up on the wall. And this Bolton lad had this funny green horn type instrument, curly horn. I don't know what it's called.
Right.
And he played the last post on it. Oh. And again, everybody stood, it just went dead quiet and just everybody just stood still just for that time, which was good because it calmed the whole thing down for a little while. And it actually, I think, woke people up to realising, look what we're doing, what the lads experiencing. I know it was all coming towards an end by the looks of it, but we'd already heard about lots of people dying and getting hurt and that sort of stuff. So separating the two was pretty much wrong and impossible.
Was there talk? I read. Was there talk of possibly like the UK sides, British sides, being withdrawn from the World Cup by FIFA?
I never heard any of that. I think there was lots of talk about what was it going to be like for the British clubs, because of the Falklands War, because of the Spanish link to Argentina. It was a difficult. I think there must have been discussions about it, but I never really heard much about us not going at all. I don't think that was ever on the cards. Just before we landed in Santander on the boat, it came across the news Argentina had surrendered. So that was amazing. The fact that we won was good, but the fact that no one else was going to be dying and getting injured on either side, nobody. I feel sorry for a lot of the Argentinian conscripts and lads that were sent out there, because some jumped up mush wanted to distract from the fact he's wrecking his own country, decided to play a bit of politics and take us at a weak point. But the thing is, they come unstuck because we had not very popular in some walks of life Prime Minister, but we had a Prime Minister who said, no, you ain't doing that. So luckily. But like I say, once we landed in Santander, you got off the boat and the graffiti everywhere was Malvinas and all that sort of stuff. So you knew there was a little bit of animosity there, and there was lots of looks and disapproving looks from the Spanish and all that sort of stuff. But you are as you get in towards Bilbao and all that, you're in Basque country, which is a bit different than the Spanish. So and they actually quite liked us. Some of the old boys with the big berries were coming up and shaking us by the hand, walking around the streets there. So that wasn't too much of a problem. But yeah, the Malvinas thing was there.
I mean, at the same time with like that Bilbao region, Basque region, there was ETA as well, who I think were on a bit of a mission at the time.
Well, as we get to that, when we got to the first game, we didn't know what was going on outside, but there was a massive Basque rally outside the ground while the game was going on, and there was a bit of a, should we say, altercation, I think, with the police, local Spanish police, with the Basques. So they were protesting against something. So yeah, that was going on, but they liked us, which was lucky, which was pretty good. We wouldn't want them against us as well. I think I don't know what the actual detailed history is, but I believe we supported them through some sort of campaign years and years ago. I don't think they've ever forgotten. A bit like Kosovo, I suppose. The way we were treated in Kosovo, we didn't know what to expect until we got there, and what an eye opener that was. Yeah. But yeah, it was all right. I mean, we'd say it was a nice, hot, sunny Spain. Didn't know what to expect. It was still sort of in the era of football thuggery, shall we say. A lot of the usual suspects were around. We sort of recognised a few of them, especially from Tunbridge Wells, Chelsea, and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure you know. But we just went to local hotel, £6-8 a night for a hotel. Nice. The World Cup.
No hiking the prices up too much then, was there?
No, I mean, I don't know what we would pay over here at the time, but we knew it was quite cheap, put it that way. Yeah. And it was out that evening. We found this bar called the Basque Bar, which we thought they would go in there because everybody seems to like us. And it was a nice warm evening, sat outside, a nice tree-lined street. And this other group of lads across the road, Bristol Rovers, I think they were. They'd been out a bit earlier than us, I think, should we say. And they were no problem. They were just a little bit boisterous. But a couple of them decided to climb one of the sort of like nicely cut shaped trees outside the bar. Right. Big branch snapped, falling to the floor. Bar owner didn't like it, called the police. Oh God, here we go. Police turn up and they had us all up against the wall outside the bar. And I said to my mate Rian, who's never been before, he said, I haven't done nothing wrong. I'm walking away. I said, Rian, stay here. No, he said, no. He walked away and he got a massive club up right on the back of his cheeks. Oh. So he came back and just stay here. Just do as you're told. Say nothing, please. God. Anyway, when they sort of like turned their backs on us, the police, I grabbed hold of my mate Paddy. I said, in, quick, legged it into the bar. We hid in the ladies' toilets. I know it sounds a bit wimpish at the moment, but I thought 3 times on the trot, I'm never going to be believed. Absolutely not when I get back home. So we hid in the toilets about 10-15 minutes. And then we sort of poked our head out, and this England fan was stood there drinking his beer. That's all right, they're gone. It's all right. What the good thing was, the bar owner who called the police identified the 2 lads that were climbing the tree, took them away, and that was it. He said that we weren't in any trouble, so luckily. But I thought, here we go. That was Santander, but it's not. Yeah, nice little place. Then obviously we had the logistics of getting to Bilbao.
Was that far away?
So that was train. No, I can't remember exactly how far, but it's only an hour or so on the train, I think. Oh. But the trains were dreadful. Cattle trucks really didn't really go above 30 miles an hour, and they sort of stopped or broke down quite often. So it was a little painful, but it was all right. A couple of cans, you were all right, not too bad. Watched a bit of scenery, and then we was on one journey to Bilbao, and the train come to a grinding halt all of a sudden. It was like a jerk. I thought, oh God, it's broken down again, and there was a bit of a kerfuffle. So I got up and said, what's going on? And someone said, Geordie has just fallen off the roof. I think this story is in a couple of books as well. We was actually on that train. Right. And I said, what do you mean he's fallen off the roof? He said, well, he apparently lost a lot of money gambling somewhere. And there's these Chelsea fans on the train. bet him he wouldn't get up on the roof and sing the Bladen Races. And I don't know how much it was, but it was a nice amount of money.
Yeah.
And all he had on was his trainers and his shorts, nothing else. So he got up on the roof, and these trains were a little bit wobbly, and he came off into the bushes.
Ouch!
Luckily, he did go the other side. It was a bit more of a drop.
Yeah.
But yeah, he came off, so they'd stopped the train. So I thought, I've got to get a picture of this. I hope he's all right, Got out, and by the time I got out onto the track, there was a one of the rail staff and a couple of his mates or whatever got him up, and they were just walking him down the track back to the train. So he was a lucky boy. Yeah. But that was so funny. So funny. But yeah, it's that down there. But these things happen when you're abroad, I suppose. An Englishman abroad. There you go. But now we got to Bilbao. Found it very, very difficult to find a hotel or anything to stay there. So off trots Wells. He says, "Right, you stay here. I'll go and sort it." Which is fine, great. We'll have a couple of beers. You go and sort it. It took him about an hour and a half before he come back. And he said, "Good news and bad news." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, I found a place." I said, "Well, what's the bad news?" He said, "You haven't seen it yet." So anywhere's good. I said, long as we can sleep and lock our bags away, that's all we want. Yeah. Really. So, but yeah, it was grim.
Was it?
It was bare floorboards, creaky everything. Nothing worked. The view out of this dirty curtain was of like corrugated iron roofs with like loads of cats and animals running around everywhere. And I thought, oh God, doesn't look it's been cleaned forever, And it was, oh well, here we are, we got it. So again, it was quite cheap. I think it only cost us between us about £20 for the room for the night. So we should be all four of us shared it. No, it's okay. It's out into Bilbao, do a few bars, try and pick up some tickets. Managed to get some tickets eventually for the France game. 18 quid. Loads of money.
Yeah.
Considering at the time at home, I should imagine tickets for a game at home were around about the £2 mark, something like that, £2.50 for a match on a Saturday. So 18 quid was a lot of money. It did eat into the finances a bit, really. But, he didn't want to miss the France game, first game.
No, not at all.
So that was really good.
And what was the feeling with England fans at the time? I mean, obviously it's the first World Cup since 70. People going with like hope?
Yeah, I think so. You think the players we had, with Brooklyn and Keegan and players like that, and Trevor Francis coming through, Brian Robson.
Yeah.
We had the fantastic squad. I think we were good enough to go a long, long way. I think really the latter stages where we couldn't score a goal was our problem. Missed chances. It's been the story of our World Cups. If you look at the record of England across all the World Cups since '66, we've had an awful lot of not rub of the green, shall we say. We've disallowed goals, hitting the post when we should be scoring. All these things have happened in Euros and in World Cups, and if only those things went our way, we could have been 3 times champions by now, quite easily. We're definitely the best side in 1990, definitely the best side in 96, and it's just unfortunate, really. Yeah. It's just unfortunate, but yeah.
Well, you mentioned Brian Robson there.
Yeah.
Got us off to a good start.
Tickets, right, but was behind the goal in the corner there.
Right.
Nearly missed the goal because we was outnumbered at the game. That's, I would say, a good 3-1 by the French, which is quite ironic, 3-1. But but they was, because it's just across the border for them, isn't it? Yeah. We was just settling in really when Robbo scored. Couldn't believe it. Everyone, it's just absolute scenes behind the goal. It's really good. But
it's a bit of an acrobatic effort, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, flick on a header from the throw in, and he was like leaning back and sort of leaning over.
Yeah,
just volleyed it in, left foot volley into the ground. I think. Yeah.
So, great way to start.
I just turned round and because I saw the throw in go over and someone tapped me on the shoulder, and as I turned round, the ball was in the net. I didn't actually see him lean over and hit it. I just see it in the net. I thought, who scored? Who scored? What scored? Christ, So yeah, it's quite a nice. Nice place to be. Nice place to be when Gaza scored in '96 behind the goal. Lovely to be behind the goal when Beckham scored up at Old Trafford against Greece. So being in those places at those times, it's just over the years, it's memories you'll take with you, really. And Robbo's goal after is it 23, 26 seconds?
27, I think.
27. Oh, I exaggerated, sorry.
And I think, I don't know, to this day, I think it's still the fastest World Cup goal. I think
it might be. I know France scored a quick goal, didn't they? Is it the 86 World Cup? It might have been the same World Cup, actually.
Right.
I think it might have been the same World Cup. They scored a very quick goal in a game. So there you go.
Yeah.
But no, it is. If it's not the first, it's at least the second. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so game went on. They got an equaliser, which is here we go. So all their fans were up for it. And it was a little bit of pushing and shoving behind the goal. Because again, there's loads of French in our end. In the end, we was in. It was not really our end. So, but then obviously up comes Robbo again, gets another one, and who got the third one? I can't remember now. Was it Mariner? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was Paul Mariner.
Yeah. So 3-1, great result, great start, and that's what we needed because that was the tough one, wasn't it? Against France, it was a tough one. Yeah, it's good. Good bit of celebrating.
All our games were in Bilbao. I guess. So that group, which was Group 4, all England's games were in Bilbao. So did you go backwards and forwards? No,
we stayed in Bilbao for the first 2 games. We weren't too sure what we were going to do about the third game because we knew that we couldn't stay for the whole tournament because of finances and everything and time off work. So the idea was we'd stay as long as we thought we could, money-wise and everything, and then come back to the later stages if we carried on in. Because there's that horrible second group stage, wasn't it, in that World Cup? A weird thing, which I don't think they've ever done again, thank goodness. But, we never lost a game, don't forget.
No, that's right. And we only conceded 1 goal.
Yeah, and got knocked out. Yeah. That's what I mean about our record in World Cups. It just doesn't go our way, really, a lot of the time. Let's see. No, we stayed around Bilbao. And then we went off to the second game, Czechoslovakia, 2-0. That's it. We qualified through. We know we're going to go through. Yeah. Shall we stay for the last game? Problem I had was, shall we say, had the old Spanish belly.
Oh dear.
Quite bad. I mean, really bad. Couldn't eat anything. Didn't want to drink, which is a bit of a shame on the World Cup in Spain. And it wasn't until excuse the description, but it wasn't until I gave birth to a dead starling on a beach toilet about 4 days later, I started feeling a bit better. But it wasn't very nice. Imagine a golf ball unravelling. That's what it was like.
Lovely.
So anyway, that's enough of that. Sorry about that, everybody. But it was quite bad. So I was quite happy to go home actually. But we had a couple of days. We went along and stayed in San Sebastian.
Right.
We said we'd stay for a few more days and just enjoy it a little bit because it's a nice seaside resort. It's a lovely place actually, San Sebastian.
Is it?
And Real Sociedad, I think, is their club, isn't it?
Oh, is that where they're based? Okay.
Yeah. And so we found a nice place there, much nicer. It was a beach holiday. We was on the beach one day and there was a group of English lads there, sort of like, lads. And they had a couple of them had these funny like masks on. It was the Chelsea lads, Hickmott and Tunbridge Wells lot, headhunters. And I thought, that's such an iconic picture. I thought, but I can't take a picture because I'll probably get my head punched or something because they don't like publicity, of course.
Yeah.
But I knew Icky. I've met him a couple of times just to speak to briefly. And I said, is it okay? This is a brilliant picture. I said, I said, can I take a picture? He went, yes, what? It's all right. All right. Took the picture. Yeah. I kept it ever since. And I have sent it to a couple of places, but I think it's such an iconic picture of those times.
Yeah. And
what those lads used to get up to, sort of thing. Nice as pie until you cross them, and then obviously they turn a bit. But no, that was quite funny. But like I say, we didn't really see any trouble in Spain apart from one night in Santander. There used to be a really popular bar there called the Hollywood Bar, like a disco type bar with all the youngsters used to turn up, and we were quite young. I was how old was I? 23, 23, 24. So still relatively young. And we was there playing the same old English 80s songs all night, and it was really good fun.
Yeah.
And one night we decided we wanted to watch the Scotland-Brazil game in a bar opposite because they had a TV. So we was across there, and then all of a sudden we heard all these sirens going off and blue flashing lights everywhere. I thought, what's going on? Someone come running in the bar and said local youths have all turned up throwing bottles and cans at a group of Pompey fans. I didn't realise, I think there was about 30 odd Pompey fans there who weren't going to have none of it.
Right.
And it just went off everywhere. And next thing you could see was like police cars, like estate cars. And you could see these like lads in the back handcuffed lying down in the parcel shelf, near the parcel shelves, being taken away. And well, here we go, just stay in the bar, stay out of it.
Yeah.
You know? But that was the only trouble we saw. And the funny, well, not so funny, we went out again the next night, our last night there, back to the Hollywood bar, and there was these like local young lads turning up with like butterfly stitches and bandages and all this sort of stuff. One had an arm in his sling.
Dear.
So I think they thought twice about doing it again, if you see what I mean. But no, that's the only trouble we saw really. So that was really our experience of Spain World Cup. It was go as long as we can, the first phase, play it by ear, tickets buy over there on the black market, just feel our way around. Was going to go by car, but obviously ended up doing the trains. It was good fun. It was lovely and sunny. Met some really good people again. Just about avoided any silly nonsense this time, and hoping to go back in a week or so's time for the knockouts and all that sort of stuff. But wasn't to be, was it?
No, so I mean,
it was a shame, but it was nice coming back because we stopped in Plymouth again in the B&B, and the next day we heard the landlady of the B&B said HMS Plymouth's coming in from the Falklands. So we thought, great, get the flag out. We'll take the flag up onto the Hoe, and it was quite packed up, quite busy.
Yeah.
And, HMS Plymouth came in. You can see where it'd been hit. It had a hole in the side.
Really?
It'd been hit by a missile or something. Obviously, lucky it didn't go off because there had a few of those that didn't go off. Even the HMS Sheffield one, I don't think exploded. I think it just hit in such a way it just set everything off.
Yeah.
So bless them. No, that was nice, and people were quite appreciative that we went out there with the flag and everything else, which was quite nice. Because we had the opportunity weeks after that to go down and meet friends off their ships. So HMS Intrepid, mate, was on the landing craft there. We said lads in the Royal Marines, and the other mate was on the Hermes, and that was quite ironic as well, because the story that the lad on the landing craft, mate Gary, said he was driving the landing craft, taking all the Marines and paras to set up the bridgehead at San Carlos Water, I think it was, and said when they landed on the beach, bumped into the other mate. The other mates, he was in the army, in the artillery on the beach. Yeah, I mean, what was the chances of that? You know, and because they were supporting two para with the artillery.
I see.
They met there on the beach in San Carlos. So
wow.
It was nice to see them all come home. You know, they all come home unscathed. So unscathed physically, but obviously mentally, it takes a while for them to get over things like that. But I think because of being young and being elated about coming back and being part of something like that, I think it helped a lot. But because like you say, I would never talk about the Spain World Cup without talking about what else was going on, which was a lot more serious. And so at least we won that one. So,
no, it's different times, and for those that weren't there, and like myself, who, well, I was only 4 when this was going on, wouldn't have been able to comprehend it or understand what was going on, whereas my parents, they would have known.
My personal link to all, apart from having lots of friends down there, about 7 or 8 friends down there in different units, was the company I worked for at the time. We do military contracts. Right. We make electrical components, connectors and cables for the military. Yeah. And to think that we were part of the effort, small part, but vital part of logistics. So Spain 82, Falkland, all linked.
I'm just trying to think
a bit of bad luck again.
Yeah, I'm just, as you say, I mean, that second round or quarterfinals round, whatever they wanted to call it, where we drew with West Germany and Spain, it was both 0-0.
Keegan's headed miss.
Yeah, because wasn't this was the tournament where, was it Keegan and Brookin only played
They were injured.
15 minutes
Yeah.
in what their entire career was literally 15, 20 minutes in the last game against Spain.
Yeah, they were injured.
Oh, right.
So they only came on as substitutes against Germany, I believe.
Right.
And in this first, I think because Keegan was a little bit, should we say, not up with the game, up with the pace, he had a clear header near the 6-yard box and just fluffed it, really.
Right.
Should have scored. I think Brooklyn had a chance as well. But, I think Rummenigge hit the bar at some point. But, it was our game to be had. And we could have won a game. We could have and should have won that game. I think we could have and should have beaten them in 1990. Could have and should have beaten them in 96, the buggers. We only seem to be able to do it in blooming friendlies until the last lot, and beat them 2-0. But there you go. Good old Germany.
And then they went on to the final. I think, and lost to Italy.
Paolo Rossi.
That's right.
Should have been in jail.
That's right. That was another story.
They give him special dispensation, I think, to allow him to play in the World Cup because he was like persona non grata, wasn't he? Because of his corruption and stuff like that was going on at the time. Yeah. So the Spain game, that was cool. Again, we could have done better, but we didn't.
Could have, should have. Yeah.
Yeah, could have, should have. There you go.
Thanks to Les Gasson there. It's always great to hear his stories from his England travels. Both the Euro 1980 and he done one with us about Kazakhstan. Both those episodes can be found at threelionspodcast.com. And one thing I should say, we mentioned Brian Robson's goal against France being the fastest tournament goal. We got that one wrong. Some eagle-eared listeners may have been shouting at us, and rightly so. Back in 2002, in the third place playoff match, Turkey's Hakan Şükür scored after only 11 seconds in a 3-2 victory over South Korea. And also, back in 1962, apparently Czechoslovakia scored after 16 seconds in a group match against Mexico. But I think we can safely say Robson's goal is England's fastest World Cup goal. 1982, though, brought with it some major talking points. There was the early defeat for West Germany by Algeria, and that group they were in also featured Austria and Chile. And it came to a conclusion in a game where neighbours West Germany and Austria found themselves playing the last game of the group, knowing that a victory of either 1 or 2-0 for West Germany would still see both teams through to the second round. Horst Hrubesch would score the only goal after 10 minutes for West Germany. And from then on, the game became a farce, a training exercise, with the teams passing the ball to each other for 80 minutes. The game, well, it would become known as the disgrace of Gijón, the Spanish city where the game took place, which is now why the final group games for each teams are played at the same time, so scenarios like this don't occur again. West Germany, well, they would later come under more scrutiny in the tournament. But in Group 3, Hungary, well, they'd beat El Salvador 10-1. And in the same group, the opening game of the tournament saw Belgium beat holders and a young Diego Maradona by 1-0. That scenario that Les mentioned with the second round group stage was a bit complicated, but it went like this. The top 2 nations from each group in the opening round would both qualify. So that meant that the 12 teams went into the second round, effectively the quarterfinals. 12 teams were then split between 4 groups of 3. The 4 teams that topped the groups would then go on to the semi-finals. In this instance, 4 European sides: Poland, West Germany, Italy and France. And I mentioned West Germany would come under the spotlight again. This was because of an incident in their semi-final against France. With the score 1-1, in the second half, French defender Patrick Battiston found himself in a position where he was chasing a ball towards the German goal, thanks to a through ball from Platini. He clearly got the ball first on the edge of the box, but he was clattered, and I mean clattered, by the West German goalkeeper Harald Schumacher. He shoulder charged him down. In the football world we know now, this would be a straight red card, no call for VAR, likely to be a huge suspension for the keeper. But not 40 years ago. Battiston was knocked out cold, motionless on the floor. Broken jaw, 2 teeth missing. He was stretchered from the pitch. Whatever angle you watch it from, it sends shivers down your spine. The referee, well, he kept his cards in his pocket and play was restarted with a goal kick.
Platini taking over and playing a great ball for Battiston. That was a magnificent ball from Platini, and Battiston so unlucky. Just wonder what the referee thought about the challenge from Schumacher on Battiston. It certainly looked a wild jump, and we're going to restart with a goal kick.
The game continued and it ended 3-3 after extra time. Penalties, and the Germans would come out on top, winning 5-4. Schumacher, well, he saved 2 and sent Die Mannschaft into the final to meet Italy. The Italians, well, they would famously win 3-1 with goals from Rossi, Tardelli and Altobelli before Breitner got a consolation. And this was the final where Tardelli would famously show his emotions in his celebration as Italy won their 3rd title.
Bergame, they've almost had too much time until it comes to Tardelli. And they've picked their moment. Marco Tardelli expressing what it's like to score in a World Cup final.
Thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. Once again, thank you very much to Les Gasson for his time. You can tune in to all the previous episodes at threelionspodcast.com or your chosen podcast provider. And don't forget, the show, you can find it on the likes of Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Go search it out. You'll find it. And I'll be back very soon with some more England content. We'll be getting to 1986 very soon. Yes, that one. I hope you can join me for it. So until then, take care. Cheers.